Welcome to the Costa Property Podcast, the podcast that turns your dreams of owning a piece of paradise on the Costa del Sol into reality. I'm Warner Laurie, and I'm joined by my co-host and wives, Sandra Laurie.
Join us as we embark on navigating the ins and outs of real estate and relocation to this beautiful region.
We're not just about market trends, we're about sharing real-life experiences, because we know the struggle firsthand, and I've helped many people navigate this challenge also.
If you're dreaming of your perfect Costa del Sol home and want to get real, no-frills, expert advice, then you're absolutely in the right place. Join us each week as we share honest insights and information that will guide your journey.
So it's January, and how are we all doing? January is a busy time for us here at WL Costa Properties and on the Costa del Sol in general, because often it's that time of year when people decide, right, this is the year where I'm actually going to make that big move happen. Moving to Spain might actually be on your dream list this year, but relocating can feel like you're trying to solve a Rubik's Cube, often with your eyes closed. From visas to NIE numbers to healthcare, it's often enough to make anybody's head spin. Now throw in all the emotional stuff like packing up your life, learning a whole new culture and praying that you've chosen the right area to live in, and suddenly that dream can feel more like a logistical nightmare, to be honest. Well, if you're nodding along, then you're in luck, because today I'm joined by somebody who really gets it. Irina from Málaga Expat Consulting is here, and let me tell you, she's an absolute fountain of knowledge when it comes to helping people make the big move to Spain. She's guided retirees, families and investors through the processes. And trust me, in the next 25 minutes, Irina's spilling her top 3 tips to help you on your move to Spain, from nailing the paperwork to dodging hidden costs and avoiding the biggest mistakes that people make when it comes to choosing where to live. She's absolutely got you covered. So stick with us, and you don't want to miss this one, because at the end we've got a really fun Q&A with Irina where she shares the biggest thing that people forget when moving to Spain. But before we dive in, as usual, we're sticking with our Spanish word of the day tradition. And today's word or words is more a phrase. We're going to jump in with la aventura, the adventure, because what we're talking about today will really set you up for your big adventure. Let's jump into today's episode. It's so great to have you here with us today. You're a regular now with us on the Costa Property Podcast, which I'm incredibly grateful for. I'm very pleased this morning that you have the time to join me again. And I'm just going to cut straight to the chase, I think, this morning with the questions. And the first question that's coming straight to my mind is very much around, why does moving to Spain often feel so overwhelming for people, in your opinion?
Yeah, first of all, good morning to you as well. And thank you again for inviting me. It's always a pleasure to be on your podcast. And I'm really honored to be your returning guest. Yeah, the relocation. Look, relocation is just overwhelming. It is considered to be one of the 3 most stressful life events. Imagine? So, of course, there are just sheer lot of things to think about, tasks to complete, paperwork, immigration, property, schools, and all of it in a new country, with a new language, in a new mentality, somewhere where you don't know anyone. It is simply overwhelming, absolutely. And people have so many concerns about it, which is completely natural. The main concern what people come to me with, there's all type of concerns, as we just said, and understandable. But most often what I hear when people contact me first time, and the majority of my clients are actually families with children. So people worry about whether their children are going to integrate and how they are going to do in school, how they are going to get to learn the language, to meet new friends. With families, it's one of the main concerns, which is, again, fully understandable. It is funny, though, because it should be one of the least concern of people. Children adapt so quickly, so much quicker than us adults. And at the end, they will lead actually the integration of the whole family They will help the whole family by setting up social circles, getting new connections through their school friends, and help the whole family find their new home and get their social circles much quicker. So that's what I usually say to people, that should be their least concern, in fact, and it's much more important to focus on the whole logistics of relocation, from paperwork to property, and very important, learning the language.
Yeah, that is so true. And I have to go back, it is one of the 3 most stressful life events. Wow. And I guess when we're in the midst of that, because you've done relocation yourself many times, I've done the big journey myself too. I think often when you're in the midst of that, you're kind of in autopilot mode, right? So you don't potentially realize the stress at that time. But I know for me, I speak for myself, when I looked back afterwards, a couple of years afterwards, I was like, wow, what a big step. So yeah, that's incredible. I just want to say that again. Relocating is one of the 3 most stressful life events. Thank you for sharing that, because I think that's an incredible reminder.
Absolutely. I read that it even considered to be more stressful than losing a family member. It is really one of the most difficult events one goes through.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is, because there's so much riding on it. There's so much that can go right, but there's also a lot that can go wrong. And I think for people, the last thing that they want to happen is that they've, put everything into this dream, to this big move, to find out that they have to go home almost with their tail between their legs and say, oh, it didn't work for me. So there's just so much will and want there for this dream to become a reality. So I can understand the emotion, and us going through it ourselves, I think we can completely relate to it from an empathetic point of view. There's a lot riding on it. When we moved, I had 2 very young children in tow with me, and I had so much anxiety, I would say, at the time, connected to, will my kids settle in? Will they make friends? Oliver was 4, he didn't speak Spanish. How are we going to navigate this? How are we going to navigate this journey? And I put so much pressure on, will he make friends? Is he making friends? And I think looking back, I should have just allowed that to happen naturally, because you mentioned there that absolutely kids lead the way often in terms of the integration. And that's 100% correct, because they do. And as a result then of that, you'll naturally meet other parents for a coffee, and your social circle will broaden as a result of your children. So I completely concur and agree with you on that. But I guess I'm curious then, in your opinion, if family is really what you shouldn't worry about because that happens organically, what do you think people should worry about? Where should they apply that attention?
Course. Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about, if you want, 3 key points or 3 secrets of making your relocation a success.
Tell us your secrets.
Oh, yeah. Well, there are no secrets really, but let's just focus on these 3 main areas. Number 1, one of the most important, is the paperwork, the preparation and the paperwork. And I can't stress enough how important this step is. And when I talk about paperwork and preparation, I don't refer just asking on a social media forum for advice of other people, or even reading on Google. It's great, it's perfect to research on Google, but what everyone should do, in my opinion, is to find a professional, a competent professional who is very aware of the immigration requirements, especially immigration requirements in a certain area. I mean, the immigration requirements are general, but in certain areas it can be interpreted differently, and can assess your family situation in detail, advice of what is exactly applicable in your particular case, and help you prepare, and help you especially prepare with the timelines. And when I talk expert, keep in mind that not all experts are real experts. So one of the part of the preparation is actually would be good to, once you find somebody, that you research a bit, you check reviews, you talk with other people about the experience of working with this person and the outcome of it. Just recently, I've been working with 2 families who found themselves in Spain absolutely unprepared with no paperwork because of the advice they received, one actually from another professional and one from social media. The advice they got, just go to Spain and sort everything there, as one of them was an EU citizen, so they said, well, everything can be done there. So imagine they arrived with children, absolutely unprepared, with no paperwork in place, running out of their allowed days of submitting the application, and having to go through so much unnecessary extra costs of arranging documents from their home country to legalizing these documents, translating these documents, running out of days, not being able to go back to their families, to visit their families for Christmas, going through extra costs, extra emotional stress, and all of that could have been avoided if they worked with somebody in advance and came prepared. And another part of the preparation, what I specifically, the matter I would like to mention about is the health insurance. I know we spoke already on this topic, but again, just recently, I had a very good example of that. So if you need a private health insurance as part of your application, make sure again to check in advance if you at all can get one. Again, another 2 clients I had just recently, both were rejected by 5 health insurances due to pre-existing medical conditions, so they couldn't be insured. In one case, it was not such a big problem because the person still didn't relocate. So we were prepared, we were working on her application, preparing, and things could have been changed. In another case, the person has actually arrived already to Spain and found again that cannot be insured. So that's it's part of the total preparation, but is an important area to check in advance.
Wow.
And finally, as the preparation, timing is so important. All type of paperwork needs time, whether it is from your home country or even in Spain. Some documents require weeks to obtain, to prepare, to translate, and all of it, lots of it has to be done before you actually move to Spain. So my advice is always to start contacting somebody, let's say 4 or 5 months before your planned relocation date, and start actually working on your immigration paperwork preparation 2-3 months before your planned date of move.
You provide so much to think about there, and wow, like that really is a horror story. Okay, let's just set the scene on that. You know, you moved to Spain with your family in tow, you don't have the right paperwork. When you get in touch with the right professionals to support you, you're running out of your time, your allocation to be in the country. That is just a situation that nobody wants to be in. And I think from a point of view of being, we can all get caught up in the razzmatazz of having a dream and want to move, but we do have an obligation to be responsible as well. And I totally concur with you that you need to spend time on your paperwork. And as Irina says, contact a professional like Irina 4 to 5 months in advance of your intention to relocate, to go through the correct steps connected to your paperwork. And she also mentions about health insurance and the importance of this as part of your application. We cover health insurance in a lot of detail 3 to 4 episodes back, so you can definitely find that. And that is an episode of this podcast that I regularly reference people to because it's full of value. So do take the time to have a listen to that episode as well, where Irina walks us through all things connected to healthcare in Spain and what you need to think about when it comes to healthcare, health insurance, health cover connected to your big move to Spain. So yeah, these are serious things, and it's important to take the time to do your due diligence. We see this a lot in the property space, particularly when it comes to the NIE number. People do things in reverse. They find their property first, fall in love with the property, and then decide, oh, I need to engage with a professional to support me to obtain my NIE number. Often, when they acquire the NIE number and they go back to pursue the property's gone. Because, you know this, things move so quickly in the property space over years. So it's about your paperwork in terms of relocation, but also if you are planning to purchase a property abroad, you need to engage and start doing your research 4 to 5 months ahead of that process too, right? You need to engage with relocation professionals to support you with the steps for your property purchase as well.
It's a great example regarding the NIE number because, in fact, the NIE number as such is a very simple procedure. You need to fill a few forms, you need to go to the police, you need to present it, you get the NIE number. But it doesn't work from one day to another. It needs appointments. Very often these appointments are not possible to get. And people get very frustrated when they come to me and say, oh, I need my NIE number tomorrow, or I need my NIE number next week. You're a professional, you can help. No, this doesn't work this way because there is a process in place, like in every country. There is a procedure in the process, and you cannot just jump over it.
So you heard it from the expert, you heard it from Irina. If you are going to need the NIE number for your property purchase, think about that sooner rather than later, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Allow at least, let's say, 1 to 2 months, allow to get your paperwork in place, even for such a simple procedure as just the NIE number.
Amazing. Okay, so we've talked about your secret number 1. Do you have any more secrets to share with us?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Number 2, let's talk about money. Let's talk about budgeting. Budgeting is so important in each major project, and relocation is one of those important 3, remember. And of course, we all budgets, everyone tries to consider all possible circumstances. But like in every big project, there will always be surprises. So be prepared for that. Even if you work with somebody and you think you have considered everything, you have all costs in place, be prepared for surprises. What can this be? The immigration office may require some extra documentation, which will be particularly applicable for your case, which has never been requested before. Again, an example from my recent experience, I had a family who moved from the Cayman Islands, imagine, from the other side of the world, with children, moved to Spain. We were very well prepared. We submitted all the documentation. The immigration office came back and requested for this particular family to provide some extra financial documentation. I guess it had to do from the origin of the country they came from, or the place they came from. And this documentation had to be arranged within 10 days from Cayman Islands, apostilled, translated. This, of course, cost a lot of extra money. It was all possible to arrange, but it had to be arranged in an express mode. What else can happen? Your furniture has not arrived. You move with the furniture, it got stuck in the customs office. You had to prolong your Airbnb stay. You bought a property, something has happened on it, emergency has occurred, you need to pay for that. There is a lot of situations which can happen for which you need to budget. I can again refer to an example of my own experience when we just moved to Spain. 15 years ago it was. In our newly bought property, in the first, I think, 3 weeks, we had to deal with 4 major emergencies, which all had to be paid out of pocket. So that was an unpleasant surprise. From the other hand, the healthcare turned out to be much, much cheaper than we budgeted. So the surprises can be both negative and positive, but always prepare for the negative surprises and have this extra buffer to support you through those in order not to affect your mental state and your financial state, obviously.
That's great advice. And that's a very practical tip, you know, building in that buffer, because we are dealing with real life circumstances. And as you correctly pointed out there, things go wrong. You know, very practical example there that you gave around furniture could get delayed. You know, you need to prolong your Airbnb stay. These things happen because we can't control the speed that the customs teams are going to process your cargo, put it that way. So we do always need to prepare for things that could pop up or go wrong. But I also think there's a piece there just to add to that. Just acknowledge that things will go wrong and don't catastrophize when they do, because, you know, this is a big jigsaw puzzle that you're putting together, and it's natural that all of the pieces may not fit in at the perfect time, but the pieces will come together in the end. So you have to protect your own mindset in this as well, and not get frustrated and annoyed and irritated when things don't go perfectly to plan, right?
Oh, you are so right there. This is such a fantastic piece of advice. It's impossible for us to control everything, and sometimes you need to let things just develop their own way. And the funny thing that sometimes at the end it turns out to your benefit when things initially don't even go the way they should have gone. So just let things go, be prepared that something may not go the way it's planned, and look at it as part of a big project.
100%. That's a great piece of advice. Budgeting and money. Okay, any other pearls of wisdom to share with our listeners?
Absolutely. The third one, what I would like to mention, and this is something you and I talked so many times before, is about your dream home. Your dream home may not be your dream home if it is in the wrong place. How many times we talked about it, Sandra, that it's so wrong to straight away hurry and rush yourself into committing to buying a property. As long as you are not sure, you have not experienced the area, do not know if this is the right area for you and your family. You did when you arrived, rented first, and many people as well. Just again, I would like to refer to my own example here. Listen, I've done all these relocations and I've done so many mistakes myself that I always like to refer to them so that people learn from it. When we, again, arrived 15 years ago, we moved from Switzerland to Tenerife and we decided to buy straight away. We didn't know the area. We just holidayed there once. We had no idea about what would be the right area for us, but we had this idea that renting is just waste of money. Let's buy and let's go and straight away find a property which hopefully will suit us. So we did. And in the following 7 years, I cannot tell you how many times I regretted about it. It was definitely not the right area for us. We should never have bought there. And I have regretted it on a continuous basis. But then the market has changed. The market has crashed. The properties lost so much value and it was just not feasible for us to sell. So we had to adapt, we had to change. But it was definitely not the right decision. When we then moved from Tenerife to the mainland, we were much cleverer. So we rented for the first 3 years before we bought the property in the area which is perfect for us now. So we're now living here since more than 4 years and very, very happy about it. So again, another example, I had a client just last year who bought a property while she was submitting her visa application. So she had that she could move to Spain directly into her property. Again, she had this mindset that she needed to own the property. She wouldn't want to rent the property. And she bought, she moved. 1 year later, she sold this property. Luckily, in her case, as you know, market has been developing very favorably here. So in her case, she didn't lose money, but she lost a lot of time, nerves, and, well, that was just not needed if she did rent initially. So one of the key advices I give to people is please don't rush yourself into buying. Initially, rent first, give yourself time. Don't put yourself under more stress and pressure. And at least in this area, go with the flow and find out within a year or two what is the right place for you.
I agree with you on that. And people often get surprised when I say this, because obviously in the business that Warner and I are in, our objective is to sell properties. But when we start working with clients, the longest piece, the thing you need to take the time on the longest is the location piece. And people genuinely get surprised when I say that, because often they find the property and they fall in love with the property and the aesthetics online, but they don't actually spend enough time on the location piece. You really need to go to the location. You need to go back at multiple times of the day. You need to really test this area and test the concept the same way that you would test any experiment in your life, because this is a big deal. And this is the part that cannot be rushed. And absolutely, some people do, come with the mindset that they want to buy immediately. Maybe their financial circumstances dictate that potentially that's what they want, and that's fine too. But you have to relax and really take your time with this. Your location, finding the right location for you, doing your real due diligence on that is so important. I just cannot emphasize that enough. Amazing.
So to sum up, it's the 3 key secrets. First of all, paperwork and preparation. Find the right professional to work with and start preparing at least 2-3 months in advance of your planned relocation date. Secondly, budget. Budget for all surprises that may come your way, and there will be surprises. Don't get frustrated over those. Let things happen, but have extra in your budget for those. And number 3, don't rush into buying as long as you're not sure, not familiar with the area. Give yourself time. Don't rush. Give yourself space also in the new country to find your way, to find your perfect home.
Fabulous wisdom and advice as always. You are so generous with the information that you share. I so appreciate you and the information that you share. But before I let you go, I did promise our listeners that I'd put you on the spot.
All right.
With a couple of rapid fire questions. So I hope you don't mind. These questions have actually come in by special request. So I'm just going to jump straight into it, Irina. So what's the one thing everybody forgets when moving to Spain?
Right. That's a good one, actually. And I would say what everybody forgets when moving at least to the south of Spain, to Málaga and Costa del Sol, is warm clothes. Everybody thinks that it's eternal sunshine here, and the only thing you need is the pair of shorts and t-shirts. So they leave all their warm clothes, their warm blankets back home, and then they very much regret it when they're here, especially in winter. In winter, it is cold, and it is cold inside the properties. The properties here are not central heated. So I'm sure you will agree with me, what we tend to do, inside we dress and we go outside to warm up and undress. So do take your warm clothes with you, do take your blankets with you, and that will be you will regret if you forget it home, or if you believe that you don't need it.
I'm laughing because I'm actually sitting here with a fluffy blanket wrapped around my knees because this room is so cold. And in summertime, as you correctly say, I appreciate that it's so cold because we are boiling hot. But this time of year, it is cold. And you're right. We have to, when you move to the Costa del Sol, you very quickly learn the art of dressing in layers, because you layer up and layer down multiple times of the day. Right.
Exactly.
And then finally, this question has also come in by special request. What's the biggest myth about relocating to Spain?
I would say it's that Spanish bureaucracy is the worst. People have this idea that Spain is the worst when it comes to paperwork and bureaucracy. And this is actually not true. Every country has its own bureaucracy and paperwork. But you are not an immigrant in your own country, so you're just not familiar with all of that. But if you move as an expat into United Kingdom, into Ireland, into Sweden, into Switzerland, everywhere there is paperwork to complete, and it's all potentially in a language that you are not so familiar with. So Spanish paperwork is not different there, and it's not actually that bad as long as you are familiar with it. You know, you work with somebody who knows, who is competent, and who can help you through. If, of course,
Amazing.
you come unprepared and you don't know from where to start, it looks like the worst, but it's not the case. So I would say that's the biggest myth.
It does get a bad reputation, right? It really does. It's about embracing that it's just different to where you come from. So I completely agree with you on that. Absolutely. Irina, it's been a pleasure. Before I let you go, please do share with our listeners how they can reach you, how they can get in touch with you to learn more about the incredible services that you offer.
Of course. Well, my website is www.malagaexpat.com. There is a lot of valuable information on my website about immigration, about paperwork, about procedures and requirements. There are also some stories I'm sharing stories of families and people who have actually relocated and who are kind enough to share their experiences. And my Instagram page is malaga.expat, and the same my Facebook page, Malaga Expat Consulting, so people can contact me through any of these media.
Amazing. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and I hope that you found Irina's tips as helpful and inspiring as I did. If you're thinking about buying a property on the Costa del Sol, don't forget to check out our roadmap to buying a property on the Costa del Sol. It's our digital online course, and it's been getting fantastic feedback. It's packed with everything that you need to know to feel confident about the process without being overwhelmed. Whether you're just starting to dream about your Spanish home or you're ready to get serious, it's such a brilliant place to begin your search. You'll find the link in the show notes, so go have a look and see how it can help you on your very own journey. And as always, I really, really hope that you have enjoyed this episode. Please share it with a friend, hit subscribe and leave us a little review. It really helps us reach more people dreaming of sunny Spain in 2025. Thank you for listening, and bye for now.